Ikenga Uruagu revealed he does not want to support any violent movement because he has political ambitions in Nigeria, aspiring to become a governor or hold a political position through connections with late politician Oba and the APC. Ikenga Uruagu, once a strong supporter of the indigenous people of Biafra, ipob, and loyal to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, turned against the movement after the death of his political sponsor and after ipob allegedly accused his ally of aiding in Nnamdi Kanu's abduction. Ikenga Uruagu aligned with the Directorate of State, DOS, who opposed Simon Ekpa and has continued attacking Simon Ekpa publicly rather than addressing more pressing issues like Fulani herdsman violence. Despite ongoing insecurity in regions like Enugu caused by armed Fulani herdsmen, Ikenga Uruagu remains silent on those issues, instead focusing his criticism on pro-Biafra leaders and freedom agitators. In Amakuba village, Enugu State, local youths formed forest guards to defend their farmland against Fulani herdsmen attacks due to government failure to provide protection, highlighting the worsening security crisis. Meanwhile, Simon Ekpa appeared in Finnish court on May 30, 2025, and pleaded not guilty to charges allegedly brought by Nigerian authorities involving terrorism-related accusations. Supporters argued that serious terrorism convictions typically carry decades-long sentences, not 6 years, casting doubt on the legitimacy and strength of the Finnish prosecution's case, especially since the investigation was allegedly influenced by Nigerian authorities. A critic claims Simon Ekpa is being targeted not because of terrorism, but because he is exposing Nigeria's alleged illegal rendition of Nnamdi Kanu and fighting for Biafra's liberation through lawful means. The critic challenges those accusing Simon Ekpa to present real evidence in court or remain silent, stressing that lies and misinformation cannot build the foundation of Biafra. They have been historical, systemic, and structural marginalization of Igbo people through geopolitical restructuring, denial of access to seaports, and widespread discrimination, which fuels continued agitation for Biafra. The story that is unfolding in the lives of Simon Njoku Ekpa, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and Ikenga Uruagu is not just one of politics, courtrooms, or accusations. It is a deeply emotional, historically rooted, and geopolitically charged tale of identity, betrayal, ambition, and a nation's long-standing search for justice and self-determination. In the latest chapter of this saga, Simon Njoku Ekpa stands in a Finnish courtroom facing accusations that could alter the course of his life. At the same time, in the heart of Nigeria's southeastern region, Ikenga Uruagu, once an enthusiastic supporter of the indigenous people of Biafra, has now taken a sharp turn against the very cause he once championed, turning his rhetoric not toward Nigeria's glaring insecurity crisis, but toward undermining fellow pro-Biafra agitators. On the 30th day of May in the year 2025, Simon Njoku Ekpa walked into a Finnish courtroom where his legal fate now lies under international scrutiny. Dressed in a clean-cut suit that spoke more of diplomacy than violence, Simon Njoku Ekpa stood calmly, maintaining his composure as he faced charges that many believe were indirectly orchestrated by the Nigerian government. These were not ordinary charges. These were terrorism-related accusations, the kind that, if substantiated, could bring decades of imprisonment. But here he was, facing a potential sentence of just 6 years if convicted, a legal detail that immediately sparked curiosity and even skepticism among those closely following the case. For many supporters of Simon Njoku Ekpa and the Biafran cause, This discrepancy in sentencing was not just a legal oddity, it was a flashing red light, a sign that perhaps the prosecution itself lacked the solid legal grounding needed to make such serious charges stick. Critics of the Finnish prosecution argued passionately, both online and in court-adjacent forums, that a conviction of terrorism by international standards typically results in much longer sentences, 20, 30, or even 50 years of incarceration. So, why just 6? This question became the centerpiece of their doubt, casting shadows over the legitimacy of the entire process. But beyond the courtroom, another drama was unfolding, one that reached deep into the heart of the Biafran movement and unearthed troubling truths about loyalties, ambitions, and the erosion of solidarity. At the center of this internal conflict was Ikenga Uruagu, a name once uttered with reverence within the circles of Biafra advocacy. Ikenga Uruagu had built a reputation as a dedicated ally of Nnamdi Kanu, the imprisoned leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. He had once marched with the people, spoken passionately about justice for the Igbo ethnic group, and stood defiantly against the structural marginalization that had choked the southeast of Nigeria for decades. But today, Ikenga Uruagu's name no longer evokes that same unity. Instead, it has become a lightning rod for controversy, betrayal, and political maneuvering. Ikenga Uruagu's recent behavior, particularly his consistent verbal attacks against Simon Nyoku Ekpa and his open alignment with the Directorate of State, the faction of the indigenous people of Biafra that strongly opposes Simon Nyoku Ekpa, has revealed a shift not just in strategy, but in allegiance. It was not long ago that supporters began piecing together a new, troubling narrative about Ikenga Uruagu. In private messages, leaked phone calls, and offhand comments during live broadcasts, he began revealing his desire to pursue political ambitions in Nigeria. He spoke of wanting to become a governor, a senator, or, at the very least, someone who held sway in political circles, preferably within the ruling All Progressives Congress, a party many Biafrans view as the very embodiment of the systemic oppression they seek to dismantle. What caused this shift in Ikenga Uruagu's outlook? Observers point to the death of a powerful political figure known as Oba, a man whose influence once paved the way for Ikenga Uruagu's political aspirations. Oba was not just a benefactor, he was a mentor, a protector, and a door-opener. When he died, Ikenga Uruagu's trajectory seemed to falter. Not long after, the indigenous people of Biafra allegedly accused one of Ikenga Uruagu's close allies of playing a role in the abduction of Nnamdi Kanu, the fiery Biafran leader who was seized in Kenya and flown to Nigeria in a controversial and highly criticized operation. That accusation wounded Ikenga Uruagu's pride and possibly shattered his trust in the movement he once embraced with all his heart. From that moment on, Ikenga Uruagu's posture shifted. He began distancing himself from pro-Biafra leaders, especially those who had remained steadfast in their support for Nnamdi Kanu or who had taken up new leadership roles, such as Simon Nyoku Ekpa. Rather than addressing Nigeria's persistent security failures, especially the ongoing attacks by armed Fulani herdsmen in communities across southeastern states like Enugu, he began directing his energies toward disparaging fellow activists. The pain of this redirection was not lost on the people, especially the grassroots supporters who had always looked up to him as a voice for the oppressed. In Enugu State, in the humble and historically proud village of Amakuba, young men and women have taken their safety into their own hands. With no help from the state government, which many accuse of being indifferent or even complicit in their suffering, these villagers have formed what they call forest guard units. These are not trained military forces, but rather local youths who have chosen to risk their lives to protect their ancestral farmlands from armed Fulani herdsmen. These attacks have not only destroyed crops and livelihoods, but have also led to loss of lives, kidnappings, and an atmosphere of perpetual fear. Yet, Ikenga Uruagu, who has a platform, an audience, and political connections, has chosen not to speak about this crisis. He has remained largely silent, ignoring the pleas of his people, and instead channeling his voice toward criticizing those who have stepped up where the government has failed. Simon Nyoku Ekpa, on the other hand, remains defiant and determined. From his base in Finland, he has continued to speak boldly about the right of the Igbo people to self-determination. He has not only exposed what many believe to be the illegal abduction and rendition of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, but he has also repeatedly called for non-violent means to achieve the independence of Biafra. This approach has won him praise among many in the diaspora, particularly those who understand the importance of lawful advocacy within international legal frameworks. Still, his stance has also made him a target. The Nigerian authorities, embarrassed by the growing international awareness of their alleged role in the extraordinary rendition of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and worried about the increasing legitimacy of the Biafra movement outside Nigerian borders, have reportedly placed pressure on Finnish authorities to act against Simon Nyoku Ekpa. The result has been a prolonged legal saga that has kept Simon Nyoku Ekpa in the headlines, but has also given him a platform to present his case to the world. In court, Simon Nyoku Ekpa pleaded not guilty to all charges. His lawyers argued that the accusations were not grounded in credible evidence and were instead politically motivated. They pointed out that no concrete links had been established between Simon Nyoku Ekpa and any act of terrorism. The critic who has been vocal about the case emphasized that anyone accusing Simon Nyoku Ekpa must present real, verifiable evidence in court or remain silent. Lies and propaganda, they argued, can never be the foundation of Biafra. Truth must lead the way, no matter how painful or inconvenient. The critic further elaborated on the deep historical reasons behind the persistent calls for Biafra's independence. The Southeast has long suffered from what many call structural, systemic, and geopolitical marginalization. Despite being a region rich in talent, culture, and natural resources, the southeast of Nigeria has been denied access to seaports, excluded from major infrastructure projects, and left out of critical national appointments. The result has been a feeling of abandonment, a festering wound that refuses to heal. This sense of exclusion is not just a matter of economics or geography, it is also deeply emotional, deeply psychological. To be Igbo in Nigeria, for many, is to constantly battle stereotypes, discrimination, and second-class citizenship. It is to watch as your cities are militarized during elections, as your businesses are raided without warrants, and as your leaders are imprisoned without fair trials. These are not isolated incidents. They are patterns deeply woven into the fabric of the Nigerian state. Simon Nyoku Ekpa and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have both spoken about this marginalization. They have framed their agitation not as a rejection of Nigeria, but as a demand for justice, fairness, and dignity. In this context, Biafra is not just a dream of a separate state. It is a cry for equality, for recognition, and for the right to determine one's future without fear of persecution. As the Finnish court continues to deliberate on Simon Nyoku Ekpa's case, the world watches closely. The outcome will not only determine the future of one man, but could also influence the trajectory of an entire movement. If the court finds that the accusations against Simon Nyoku Ekpa were politically motivated, it could send a powerful message about the importance of international legal protections for activists. If, on the other hand, the court rules against him, it could embolden those who believe that dissent must be crushed, even across borders. Meanwhile, back in Nigeria, the revelations about Ikenga Uruagu's political ambitions and his apparent betrayal of the Biafran cause have further divided an already fragile movement. For many, this betrayal is more painful than anything the Nigerian government could do. It is one thing to be attacked from the outside. It is another thing entirely to be stabbed in the back by someone you once trusted, someone you once called brother. The coming weeks and months will be critical.
All right, Biafrans, you see, anyways, let me start by greeting every one of you. You guys are doing wonderfully well, because what we do now is standing on the mandate. And anybody this mandate is annoying or offending can, step aside. That is the reality on ground. I don't care to know what anybody is saying, but I keep telling you guys the truth. You see what the terrorist government of Nigeria has brought themselves in, they can never escape it. Realistically, most of you, I saw so many people writing rubbish, and I don't know what you people gain by telling lies on social media. If you don't tell lies, most of you, I think I realize that if most of you don't tell lies, you don't eat. And that is the simple truth. If you don't lie, you cannot eat. Now, somebody said that Prime Minister was involved in tax fraud, over 30,000 or 30 million tax fraud. And then there are some witnesses that came to testify again. I mean, why do you people peddle so much lies against one man? Against one man. If you don't like a person, what do you do? Oh, damn. What do you do? You stay off his social media platform. You stay off his social media handle. You don't go there and try to be relevant. Because in my own case, if you try to be relevant where I am, I'm going to rubbish you. I'm telling you the truth. I will rubbish you. I don't run for debates. Anywhere you like, you can call me for debate. I will go. I will come. But make sure you are standing on the existing protocol of that topic. Because if you try to twist narratives, I already know. Because I'm very smart. I'm a very smart guy. I'm telling you the truth. Now, yesterday, our Prime Minister came into the courtroom for the very first time, which was on the 30th of May 2025. And so many people, started writing rubbish about it. Prime Minister was just disappointed that the people is trying to liberate. The people, who are the people who kept him where he is today? It is we, the Indigo. The people that they are unaliving their people in the southeast, but they don't want their freedom from the same contraction called Nigeria. And they are there sabotaging every effort of this man. Where do we get it right, Indigo? How can we do it and get it better? Now, this is what happened yesterday. Yesterday, for the very first time, he came into the court and the prosecutor read what they read. And they asked him, are you guilty or not guilty? He said he's not guilty. And why some people were pushing for 6 years imprisonment? I ask you, where in the world are somebody who is suspected to be a terrorist, who is suspected to be carrying out terrorist in incitement via his social media, sentenced for 6 years? Now, if you are found guilty of committing a terrorist act, or you have the intention of committing an act of terrorism to another country, what they do is that they will jail you, and practically the fine is always the jail term is always very high. Like you see something like 30, 40 years, 60 years, 100 years, some cases it is life imprisonment. Now, when you come to peddle such lies, I wonder what kind of heart do you people have? And when we discuss these things, when we come to say these things, you feel as if maybe we are trying to suppress some people or tell some people falsehood. I went to a program today, and I keep telling you them that look, what Mazi Simon Ekpa and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu structured on ground is the truth, and it is true that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu he's using to demolish the Nigerian government in their own court of law, which is not even supposed to stand, because anybody that you went to an extraordinary rendition that person into a country without following the due process of the law enshrined in the constitution of the EU and of the European Union, you have actually committed a crime. You that went after that person, because you have to subject the person into their law system, and their law system has to prove that you have to prove to the law system of that country that you are hoping to extradite that person, that this person actually committed this offense. So when you now went and forcefully removed that individual, it becomes a crime, and Nigeria knows that they have committed a crime, and they are still trying that same man in that country. Why? Because Nigeria is not a working system. Nigeria does not have rule of law. The only rule of law in Nigeria is gun and bullets. Gun and bullets. So when we say it, we are not out of point. When we come to debunk their lies, we are not out of point. And this is what I want to tell Biafrans. You see this court case? You people should go and relax. Go and relax. Go and relax. The prosecutor was saying, oh, 6 years imprisonment. And the lawyer argued. Who are the people who did the investigation? Who are the people? Nigerian government brought investigation to the Finnish authority, and they are hoping to stand on that investigation. You've not started, and we are hoping that most of you, General Christopher Musa, I hope that at the end of this whole thing, you must come to Finland to defend yourself. Biankolo, you must come to Finland to defend yourself. Sheyi Tinubu, tell your father, your drug father, that he must come to Finland with you to come and defend what allegation and how Mazi Simon Ekpa has been carrying out of terrorism in the southeast by trying to free his own people, Biafrans, from the shackles of the colonial masters. And I want to ask this again, and I want to say this again. You see, Brekete family, you must come. You see, Charles Chukuma Soludo, you must come. You see, Governor of Enugu State, those that say that they do have a lot of evidence against Mazi Simon Ekpa, now we'll be needing those your evidences, because the court proceedings has actually officially started. So we need all those your evidences to the International Criminal Court. Okay? So, but if you don't bring any of this, my brother, just know that all what you have been doing is just deceit and lies. Because we cannot build Biafra on lies. Believe you me. So Biafrans, on this note, I just want you guys to be rest assured that I am here every single day to tell you guys nothing but the truth. The truth is what the foundation, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, built this struggle. Mazi Simon Ekpa built this struggle, and that is where we are going to stand, and that is what we are standing on to continue to push for our total freedom. Remember, Biafra has been redeclared. It's under the leadership of Madam Ngozi Orakweze, the surrogate of Dr. Simon Ekpa. So anybody that does not like that, please, you can screw and pass. Thank you, Biafra, and may God bless you. I hope I answered some of your questions, so don't get worried over anything. We are on the right track.
Any day what we do turn to violence, I'll stop. I don't want to get involved in things like I have future. I want to become somebody in our country one day. I have future. In fact, I have political ambition. That's just the fact. I don't want anything that will spoil my future. I don't want to say things, even the ones. No, call your boyfriend. Ask your boyfriend now. Okay, baby, please tell me the meaning of Nigeria. If he gets it, I will give you one Brazilian. He can't, because they don't know the meaning. If it was the stupidness of our great grandfather that makes them accept Nigeria. Okay, now, no, let's do it. No, call. I can even give you my phone. Use my phone if you don't have airtime. Call. Okay, baby, call him. Just put it on speak out. No, put it on Google. Let's Google. No, forget about the Google. Just put it. Call him. Call him if he can get the meaning of Nigeria. Just ask him, baby. What is okay? South Africa means the southern part of Africa. If you ask Mozambique people, they tell you the meaning of Mozambique. If you ask meaning of Zimbabwe, you people may know the meaning of Zimbabwe. Okay. But some people know.
Nigeria is a Portuguese name. Nigeria is Portuguese.
It's name what?
Nigeria.
That's Zimbabwe.
Nigeria is a Portuguese name, meaning Nigeria. Meaning
Niger area.
That's the name that white people.
But it is very sad that our boyfriends they don't know the meaning. Because how did you know?
In my own opinion, I think that the 6 geopolitical zones that were created, I think by Abacha or who was it, I think it was a deliberate and calculated attempt aimed at containing the Igbos. That is my opinion, and I'm entitled to it.
Our brother here, who is from the north, believes so much that Igbos has been marginalized enough in this country, Nigeria. So here he is narrating and explaining everything, detailing them one by one to the people who wants to know, who wants to hear. Listen to him very well.
That things were brought together. So the question I begin to ask myself is, how is it that there's no similarity between an Igbo man and the Niger Deltans? You quite agree with me that there's similarity, right? And secondly, let's look at the creation. Why I say it's a deliberate move to contain them in one place is the fact that look at the way they would have been privileged to the water if not for the fact that they were carved in the middle. If you look at it, you see they were carved in the middle, which deprived them of having a seaport. But when you look at places like Lagos now, Lagos is privileged to have that by virtue of the fact that it's close to the water. And funny enough now, you get to look at it that the seaports that are supposed to be viable in the Niger Deltas are not viable. Why are they not viable? You should answer that question to yourself. So if you look at it generally, there's a problem there. And funny enough, the Niger Delta seems not to be agitating for having these seaports. Why? Possibly because they are already rich in terms of the revenue allocation they get because they have oil. But another thing again is the fact that one of the main reasons why the Igbo man have to live to places like Lagos is the fact that the Igbo man is a businessman. And there's ease of doing business since they are more into importing or whatever to come and reside in Lagos. But funny enough, this would have been made much easier had it been there's a kind of if the seaport in the Niger Deltas is viable, right? So, but you get to see that by the time the Igbo man complain of we need seaport now, they will say no, you don't have anywhere to have a seaport, right? And let's go to this other aspect. What are the major reasons for the agitation of an Igbo man in the country at the moment? We just need to do justice to that. One is the fact that the Igbo man feels threatened anywhere he goes. In most of the places he goes, most especially in the north. Anything that happens, he feels threatened. We're going to burn down your business. This is not your place. We'll send you away. With evidence, right? It has happened so many times. In short, even recently in Lagos, they seems to be having that as well, right? That is point agitation number one. Number two agitation is the fact that they feel that they don't need to go to Lagos to actually access seaport and have ease of doing business, and a lot of it. It would have been much more easier had it been them and the Niger Deltans are together and there's a seaport created there, right? Which is a fact, and of which I feel it would have been the best. But in so doing now, I think it's going to make Lagos less effective, and at the same time, in short, it's going to make Lagos less effective. And I think that's why politically, consciously or unconsciously, that has remained for a very long time. But looking at it now, having said this, what is the way out? The way out still remains the fact that I think the Igbos need to work better with the Niger Deltans, because I see a lot of similarity if not for political differences and a lot of other things born out of selfishness and born out of a creation that was actually designed to contain them, I think they will strive more better and they will agitate for all these things that can make their regions more viable. And second, another thing is we need to look at the landmass. One of the reasons why the Igbo man have to move to other places, a lot of places to do business as well, is the fact that he's deprived of the landmass. Generally speaking, if you look at the creation of the 6 political, geopolitical regions, you will get to see that it was just a calculated attempt born out of selfishness and born out of trying to contain a particular group of people not to be viable. So, but just like I said, I feel there is need for the Igbos to either work out their differences with the Niger Deltans, because while the fact is some of their differences seems to be stemming from the past history in regards this.
Because last time that I when a lot of complaints. The Amankota Security Network, members of Amankota Security Network. So I went a series of complaints from our mothers. Then I go on. On a man here time of farming. I go on a farm. So I went a lot of complaints from most of them. The way in the Fulani disturb her, no, and the Hakoga. No, in fact, even this morning while I was coming. Na side the Ozafoba de Shabiamankota. And when occasionally Otu Namashi La Muni no Corona farm. Near no there yesterday. Lequena a return na Ebe farm about Lequen Nama in the Fulani. Here the whole Apmunine neba. And the worst part of it, Nama Panedia near in the Fulani Guzureba Nelehanya. They keep watching them while they destroy the crops. So that's in Ekwahani Odidi. And this morning, like I told the security members, and I got all the thick forests and whatever farmland. Because last year we buy chopper on the other side. So I know what information I had the small. So I got this morning. We didn't see them. So Anya Pokula know that we are not going to give them that chance to continue to intimidate us in our own land. Such nonsense will not happen in our own time. So this morning we have gone round with the security members in virtually all the farmlands anyway. And those Fulani herdsmen were nowhere to be found. But we have spotted areas. And we want to use this opportunity to call on the state governments to tell them that Amankota community is a no-go area for Fulani herdsmen, as far as we are concerned. Because these people have really intimidated us in our own land. And such nonsense, we're not going to take it lightly. So, Biko, we are using this opportunity to call on the state government to tell whoever that is involved, whoever that is in charge of these Fulani herdsmen, that we don't need further destruction of our farmlands again. We don't need it. And today, we want to let them know that today we have formed what is called Forest Guard. And now form one hand about Forest Guard today in Amankota. And we're going to extend SEM in Mbiri. As I meet with all the youth present by next week, we are also going to take the same decision to making sure that all the towns, all the communities in Alambiri, they were covered. We don't want further destruction of our farmlands. Since they don't know how to go about with their cows, we now let them know that our mothers cannot suffer, and after suffering for months, then by the time they need to, they ought to go to farm and harvest their crops.
This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.